Hi folks, I've got Mike Single here, and look, I've just had an interesting conversation with him, and I said you better jump on screen and talk about this because this is going to affect small business in a huge way. Mike, you're worried about the banking sector, and welcome, by the way.
Good afternoon, Max, and thank you for the opportunity to discuss the new CCCF Act that was introduced in New Zealand with effect from the 1st of December, and it's having an extremely adverse impact on New Zealand businesses.
CCCF PAC.
The Credit Consumer Finance Act, which was
that's the one that's affecting banking.
Effectively changing the way in which banking in New Zealand operates, in particular looking at personal loans. So the objective of the Act was to target some of the extreme lending that's going on, some of the high cost lending. Unfortunately, what it's done is it's taken the good intentions, it's targeted the mainstream banking with some very negative outcomes. So the major problem is that they've introduced all these penalties. So if you're seen to be lending irresponsibly, you could be fined in excess of $200,000.
Let's jump to the consequences already. We'll go back and see the reason for it. Now, what you were saying is that the banks are not loaning money, and look, I've seen that in the private sector and personal sector already. I get a lot of clients that are the same. Now, what you're saying is small businesses are going to suffer here.
Very much so, because it's personal loans in particular that the banks are pulling the pin on. And so small businesses predominantly are reliant on their home mortgages to fund their business, and they're being turned down now. So they come along saying, right, we're in this red period, we just need a $20,000 overdraft to see us through, and they're being declined. The other area that's is being hurt severely are young, innovative business people that are going to the bank saying, look, I need $30,000 to buy my next lot of equipment, and they are being declined. And this is very alarming for New Zealand because SMEs and young, innovative business people are our future.
Oh, and it's going on because what we've seen is with the lockdowns, small businesses have suffered enormously. But what we need is older people like myself. I've got a couple of businesses, and it's time I moved on and young people had to go. And we need young, smart entrepreneurs with the courage and to get up and have a go at it. But look, one, they've seen that the government beats them up, and the second one is, well, they can't even get the cash to do it, what you've just saying.
Oh, absolutely. And so the outcome of that, it was a lady working for the ANZ who has a PhD in economics and business management. Her assessment of it was that if this act is not repealed, after 2 years, New Zealand will go back effectively 10 years. If it continues much past that, we will lose a generation. So the big crunch comes...
Lose a generation of entrepreneurs.
And you can't afford that. That's catastrophic. We need this act to be repealed. I understand David Clark is reviewing it, but reviewing doesn't cut it. So, for example, if you're one young chap had 5 subscriptions, which were all business-related subscriptions. He's involved in IT, very innovative. And they toned him down because of those subscriptions. That's just madness.
Ridiculous.
It's absolute madness.
Yeah.
So New Zealand faces a crisis. A lot of people don't appreciate that we're in this position, how serious it is. The focus has been on first home buyers that have clearly been pushed completely out of the market. But the bigger problem is the SMEs.
The productive sector of our community is going to be hammered. Yeah,
absolutely.
And us older guys are about to retire. Would like to, and we're actually almost persuaded to with all the lockdowns and the disincentive to be in business. But the young entrepreneurs are not going to be wanting to touch it if they can't get started.
And if we continue to treat them in this fashion, there is a very obvious exit clause, which is they will leave New Zealand. And so where will they look? Well, they'll look to Australia, they'll look to Canada, they'll look to Europe.
I understand that's happening already, Mike, and you told me stories today. You know that's happening.
Absolutely, it's happening. And New Zealand has to wake up that we are in a global community. Whilst we've been locked down for 2 years, we still live in a global community, and young people can move and historically have moved. But we've also had this opportunity. We've got young people that have been overseas that are going to come home that are very talented, have got a lot of great ideas and a great energy, but we've got to be able to access funding.
Mike, thank you very much. I reckon you've helped out a lot of small businesses to start their planning, so much appreciated.